All right, we call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Shane Appleby.
Here.
Bruce Gage.
Here.
Nick Gunderson.
Here.
Rich Lidkey.
Here.
Keith Nadowski.
Here.
And we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Rich Lidkey. Please join us.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the regular council meeting of September 19th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting from September 19th.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And we get down to number 5, citizen appearances. Mr. Zaboy, have the floor.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Patrick for being at the library board meeting. He answered lots of questions for us and helped us out and get going with our regular meeting. Biggest item on the agenda, as far as I'm concerned, was to pass the budget for this coming year. And I think we did that, and hopefully that it will meet with everybody's approval here and that we can go on from there. Other than that, I don't know that there's any problems at this time that we have to discuss or to worry about. Still, I'm concerned for those of you who are landscape people. I still have what I call the dropping of the earth down there by the door as we go in on that left side. We filled it in twice and it still keeps receding down a little bit. Used to be the elevator shaft, now it's the ground out there. So I don't know what that deal is, but we'll keep an eye on it and we'll keep filling, and hopefully it's not going to present a bigger problem than what it is. Appearance I don't mind, but if it's logistic, then it's something else. Any questions you have of me? If not,
No, thanks,
thank you very much.
Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Next one, Weyauwega Lake. Bob, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thanks for your time tonight. I think it's time for you to get a briefing on what's going on in Lake Weyauwega. It's been probably a couple of years since you've seen me, probably several years since some have seen me, maybe none, never some. I'd like to first of all expose you to this, which we've gotten on, you can share this, there aren't too many copies available, they're very expensive. I'll loan for you for tonight while I'm giving my little presentation. And I'm basically here just to give you a report tonight. I don't have a whole lot of time, I guess, but I'll try to condense it as fast and quickly as I can. A little background on me, first of all. I got involved in this actually 14 years ago when I was on the county board. I discovered that we had some major problems in Weyauwega County, and because of that, I pushed really hard to get a water quality program through, and was successful in doing that on county level, which in turn opened up engineering capabilities for us in the county itself. And in their budget, this gentleman is a picture of what Weyauwega's involved with. It's called the Weyauwega River Watershed. Okay, this is a 412 square miles. And if you look at the bottom of it, Weyauwega's right down here. Right here is Weyauwega, on the bottom of the map. Weyauwega is what happens upstream, period. Everything that happens up here ends up in Lake Weyauwega. It's something that really concerned me 14 years ago, and because I got involved with the overall, the bigger picture, I got really involved with Weyauwega because I had roots here in Weyauwega. Been here, I've lived here a good share of my life. I discovered that the lake was becoming eutrophic. That means it's dying. So I decided it was time to make an effort to try to revitalize it and bring it back so it'd be usable again. So it could at least be used. It'll never be used as it was in the past. That's done because the lake's becoming what's called eutrophic. That means it's still in the process of dying. That dying process is being speeded up because of the dam. The best thing that could happen to this, according to the DNR, is pull the dam, make it a river again. The problem with that is then you'd have a marsh, which was encroaching until we drained the lake a couple of short years ago, which I'll get into shortly. You'll have a marsh that'll encroach faster and faster until you have a marsh on each side of the river coming through. And that marsh means you would have a lot of mosquitoes and a lot of other things I don't think you really want. Our first organizational meeting was on September 4th, 2008. At that time, we met with Weyauwega County Conservation Department. We had a joint meeting with them and with the Water Quality Committee, which I was at that time president of, on the county board. The three entities got together, and from that, the Weyauwega Lake Restoration was formed. And from that point on, one of the first groups of supports financially was the Weyauwega Lake Conservation Club. They've since disbanded probably a year ago, but they've helped us over the years as we unfolded this process of trying to get the lake back where it should be. In November of 2008, we got our first grant. That was a $5,000 grant from Weyauwega County, and we specifically earmarked that for education. And since that point in time, we've gotten the Weyauwega school system deeply involved with us in research on this lake. And for the last 4 or 5 years, they've been doing on-site research through their high school and middle school classes. In 2009, we hired an engineering firm. First by the name of Matt Hart came to work for us. He belonged with Lake and Pond Solutions, and he brought us up to date with a plant survey. One of the first things we found out that we had to have from the DNR was a plant survey before he could go any further, see what's out there in the lake. We established the relationship with him, and we also discovered something called GPS. And from GPS, we have since then, you can look at this, we transected, there's a lot more than this, is just one of the maps we happen to have. We transected 8 different lines on the lake, which we constantly study every year now. We go back to GPS and we can get plant studies off of that. Find out exactly what's out there and what's existing every year. Is something that's actually, it's an important tool for us. It gives us the ability to actually see from the sky what's going on under the water and in the water. We communicated with North American Hydro. They got to be very close partners with us, and that's become a problem now because that's been sold to a new outfit called Eagle. Now we have to reestablish a relationship with them. So I don't know exactly how it's going to pan out yet. When the DNR came into the equation, we had to go through a permitting process. That permitting process is very intense and very drawn out. This is a federal waterway. That means we had to deal with the federal government and the state government. It wasn't easy. It took us almost 2 years to get the permits. We finally got the permits, and in 2010, we contacted with another engineering firm called Verbucker and Associates. With them, we performed a detailed substrata survey utilizing GPS. And then we did a bathymetric study. They recommended we do a 9-month drawdown on the lake. However, April 2010, we met with the DNR in Shawano and sought approval of a 6-year plan. DNR shocked the lake and reported that on the first day, which was one of the things they had to do before they would even put the process any further, they shocked the lake to see what was in there, and they discovered we had an endangered species, actually 2 of them. One was a red horse sucker, which is very endangered, and another one was a minnow, a mud minnow, one of the most endangered minnows in North America, which created another problem for us to get the permits. So we had found out in the end we had 6 endangered species on this lake. We had 2 clams, we had 2 turtles, we had 2 endangered turtles, we have an endangered bird, actually 7, and we have the 2 endangered fish on Lake Weyauwega. So it gets to be quite a process to try to get permits. We finally got those permits, however, and in October of 2010, the DNR and FERC, the Federal Energy Commission, Regulatory Commission, approved the drawdown. December of 2010, the North American Hydro agreed to assist us. However, they wanted to get paid first. That became a real problem. They wanted to get paid for all of their unearned income because they would not be able to operate the dam. So we had another challenge. They projected that that would come to roughly $65,000 in the year period that we wanted to draw the dam down. In the end, we negotiated with them and they reduced that somewhat, but it still ended up being essentially a total of about around $100,000 to $120,000. I'd have to look at the numbers. Our balance sheet in 2012, we went for a grant, didn't get it. So we had to go out and beg. We set up raffles. We got donations. Actually, a lot of the local companies donated. The Foundry donated money to us. AgriPure gave us money over the years, and several other groups. And in the meantime, we discovered other problems. We had to do a historical search at the bottom of the lake before we could proceed with the drawdown, as soon as it was drawn down. Right? In 2011, we drew down the lake. And when we drew this lake down, we had other problems. That's when we had to do the historical search in the bottom of the lake. That was another $3,000 of unexpected dollars to see if there are any Native American artifacts on the lake bed. They found none. However, they did find some on a couple of houses in the city, under the houses. We considered going into a second year drawdown because the first year we were listening to what at that time we thought were experts, engineering firms. We actually had 4 employed over this time period. Now we have a 5th one. This one is doing really good. Stantec, they're called. They have changed their name now to the Lakes and Pond Solutions, but we're sticking with them because they are the reason we have the accumulation of a lot of science right here. We decided science is very important long term if we're going to really tackle this problem. We spent the next winter with the lake down again. This drew a lot of public opposition. They didn't understand what we were trying to do. We thought we'd be very successful. However, we had some unexpected problems. One of them was called the flowering rush. And if any of you live around here, you had to see the height of these weeds when we had the lake down. Well, according to the experts, including DNR, they were going to drown out once the lake was refilled after a year. Didn't happen. We still have a problem with it, but not the same problem that we had before. The emergent flowering rush is dying out, and probably will, but it's going to be replaced by another weed called Elydium. But that's more of a native weed. There's a major battle going on out there right now between plants, and we want to see how that develops. So what we're going to do this next year, set up a pilot project on the north end of the lake to address the bluegill spawning beds. And that's in an area that there's still a flowering rush that's emergent. We're going to try to destroy that and replace it with native plants that are more conducive to bluegill spawning. Along with that, we're working with the schools. We're going to hopefully get a youth fishing program established this year. The schools are very excited about this. Had a lot of discussions with them. In fact, some of their teachers will be deeply involved with us and the students to do specific projects on the lake itself. So we got a lot happening. We've come a long way in 8 years, but there's a long way to go yet. There's 2 decisions to be made here. One, we're the canary in the cage. What happens up here is going to show up down here. So we need to monitor the river. I'm right now involved with the DNR doing exactly that. Historically, the DNR has taken almost no information, or gathered almost no information on the lake itself. They've ignored it. So most of the data that's been accumulated by our group over the last 8 years. Before that, it's a void. So we're starting kind of from scratch, but we're learning. We're learning fast. As we go, we have 2 choices to make. One is to battle it. This will be an ongoing battle. We're going to need a perpetual management plan, which we couldn't have until we put this together so we know where we're going. In here, and you have access to this, we put it electronically on here so that everybody in the city council has access to this now. And hopefully the rest of you too. And I'm hoping we'll have one hardbound book here in your library that you're going to establish, I hope, so that you can come here and actually read the hardbound. I'm a hardbound guy. I got to go by this. I'm rather computer illiterate, so I got to depend on this. In here, it'll give you a lot of information. a lot of science. In here is a lot, including establishing a Lake District, which I think is going to have to be. I was reluctant to do that because I believe in volunteerism. I've always volunteered all my life to do things, but I'm not going to be around many more years, so none of us will. So we got to get younger people involved, because if we want this lake to survive, it's an ongoing process. It's called perpetual management, and without it, you're done. And I'm hoping we can work with the city down the road ultimately in a cooperative effort between us, the city, and the schools, because I think we'll get a lot more done, be a lot more successful. This is a good start. This cost us a lot of money to put together. We had a $25,000 grant, and we had to pay for this up front. I believe our group has expended close to $200,000 in our efforts in the last 8 years or more. I'll put the numbers together. And the next time I make a report to you, I'll let you know exactly what we have done in that area, but I know I'm taking up a lot of time here for you. So for tonight, keep two things in mind. You're the canary in the cage. You can help the entire area in the big picture by taking care of this lake, because we are the sounding board for the rest of the watershed. What happens down here will alert them as to what needs to be done upstream. And that's what the engineering people are for in the county level, that we got to establish our water quality program. Down here, you can do your own thing. This is a community thing. You got community, you got a future here. Should be one of the keystone foundations for this community, should be your lake, along with the other things the city is really involved in, which I applaud you for. I know the city hall is new. I know you've had a lot on your plate. And I know it's a thankless job, but I applaud you for listening to me for this time, so that I can at least give you a little foundation of what we've been trying to do and where we're headed, where we're hoping to go. Thank you. Any questions?
No. Thanks, Bob.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time. I realize you're pressed.
All right, moving on. Number C, we have Brian Holbrook.
Yeah, thank you. I have an aerial photo business out of Clintonville, where I fly and take these pictures, and I took the business over from my dad. And I come across some negatives of some pictures he took of Weyauwega from back in 1974. So I have a shot here I'd like you guys to take a look at. I mean, just give it to you and you can hand it on down. I've come across many of these negatives that he took, and I'm finding that they're quite popular. I'm glad he didn't get rid of them. Because the old pictures like this, with the farms and whatnot, people really like to see them. These shots are here, I'll give you right here. These are some that I took just in the last few weeks, mainly of Main Street and the new building that you have here. But I take the shots like that. This is just one size. This is just a sample made up. It's not even finished off yet. I take it to a guy in Appleton and he does the work for me. But this is the middle size, and I have like 5 different sizes I make the pictures to. But I'm just mainly bringing it to your attention so you guys can look at it. If you're interested in it, we make them up. I sell them like that. That's what I do for a living. And if it is something you're interested, I'll have the picture finished off. You can have any kind of color of matting you want on there. The middle size like that, the 20 by 30, we make up for $3.95, and it's all matted and framed. And it's got a, what they call a clay print on there, so it isn't something that's going to be fading. The guy who does it for me tells me it'll last 100 years. Of course, I'm not going to be around to prove that, but I do a lot of work with this guy. I've been doing it for 10 years or so, and he does real nice work. But you don't have time now, but you look it over, and there's been, of course, lots of changes on there. Some buildings aren't there anymore. And unfortunately, he only took one angle. Lots of times he took many angles, but back then, I think he was mainly interested in taking farms. So when it came to the municipalities like this, he didn't do a lot of it.
Where my house is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've done this in other communities. Of course, Clintonville, Marion, where I'm from, they've been very interested in the old pictures like that. And whenever I come across old ones that you've done, I usually take it to the council meetings and other businesses in town, the towns, to see if they're interested in the historical aspect of it and the conversation piece that it is. And these other shots were done September 20th. And of course, if they get enlarged, the detail will show up better, just mainly showing the work that has been done right here at City Hall. And if they would want another shot, an overall of the whole community, I can do that too. I've also been working with some of the other businesses in town here. It's not Weyauwega's anymore, but the cheese factory over there, they just put the new addition on. And they've had me do some work for them too. In 1974, that's going on, what, 40-some years ago now?
Yeah.
But what I'll tell you though is, I do like this. This is very interesting, but we can't act on that tonight. It's gotta go through the finance committee and then,
Oh, is that, okay?
yeah, there's nothing this council can't do because legally it's not on the agenda and,
Okay.
to make a purchase.
Grab that for you.
But we can make a recommendation that it go to the finance committee and then bring
Okay,
it back to the next council meeting.
all right, and,
Yeah.
I left a card before, but I don't know if you guys still have the business card there.
Yeah, you can give it to Patrick here, the
Yeah, I think we've
Yeah,
got one
it's
now.
great.
Yeah, I bet you do, because you're the one I talked to.
Yep, yep.
And how much does the picture usually go for?
That one there was $3.95.
Okay.
And I'll list them on the back here. We can do other framing, but most of the businesses like the black frame. It is a wood frame, it's not plastic. And like I said, you can pick whatever kind of matting. I picked the green, seemed to go with that.
I'm sure it's possible to get like the same shot, but 2016, 2017?
Need a different size.
No.
Oh, you
So
mean
in
a
other
new
words,
one? Yeah, yeah.
Same
I see
exact
what you're
shot, but
Yes. Yep. In fact, if I was going to do another one for you, I'd probably take a half a dozen different angles and then let you pick which one you thought looked the
yeah,
best.
it'd be neat if there's one similar to that from now.
Sure.
Just so that way you can look back and forth. Kinda cool.
That's what I normally try to do is get a duplicate, but then give some other choices too. And that's done about this time of the year. You could still do that. Even without the foliage, sometimes you can see the buildings better. So right now, right up until the snow flies, you could still take the pictures.
Okay.
Okay, we're not trying to put you off, but
Nope, you go right ahead. I'll
that's
just
the rules.
give her the card.
We
Thank you for your time.
No, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
appreciate you
What I
coming
got.
down. Moving right along, committee reports, Public Works, Bruce.
Make a motion to approve A15 pay request number 16 for $17,200 from Myron Construction contingent on lien waiver.
A second?
Got a second? Motion made and seconded to approve A15 pay request 16 from Iron Construction. Any questions on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion to approve A15 change order number 5, $11,052.30 from Myron Construction.
A second?
Motion made and seconded to approve change order number 5 to Myron. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion to approve A15 work change directive 41 for $14,177.66 from Myron Construction.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve work change directive 41. Questions?
Just a quick comment. Typically, you've just had the change orders, because at the beginning of the project, you gave approval for anything under $10,000 to be addressed and then presented in change orders. This is related to the allowances on testing, specifically for concrete. We had set aside an allowance, the allowance had gone over, and the key thing about an allowance is that Myron can't mark up an allowance, so the cost you see there is the actual cost for testing every time they did a pour of concrete or whatever it would be. So that's why it's a little bit different. The first 40 of them were all wrapped in change orders and then had a net amount under the $10,000. So
Everybody understand? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion to approve and repair 10 damaged downtown electrical outlets for a staff map.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to repair the downtown electrical outlets. I think you all saw the maps, did you? You know what we're talking about, get the light fixtures out here fixed.
So those 10 are the red ones.
The, yeah, the
Some
ones
level
that
don't
are
have power to
worse,
them or.
bad
okay.
shape.
Yeah. The ones that work now, we're gonna leave and then probably address in the spring if we need to.
Yeah. Any questions on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion to approve clean water fund notice, intent to apply a representative designation.
Second?
You wanna explain that one, Patrick?
Yep, so this is every year, if we anticipate that the next year we were going to be applying for the Clean Water Fund loan, which is how we're ultimately paying for the treatment plant, you have to give a notice of intent to apply, so that you're eligible next year. We're assuming that we'll have the application in December, but in the event that it drags into January, we'll be covered this way. And our representative designation is, we're intending to apply, and we're allowing Cedar Corp to fill out the necessary paperwork and answer questions. So it's more of a qualification so that we can keep our eligibility for the Clean Water Fund financing.
Okay. Did I get a second?
That was Keith.
Yep.
Yep.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion to approve Elder from Cedar Corp proposal for CWF loan application service.
Second?
You wanna deal with one?
So we do have to take a formal action just to approve Cedar and Eller so that their costs can be eligible to be reimbursed then through the Clean Water Fund loan. Ellers is proposing an $8,500 fee. They're doing a lot of the number crunching, forecasting, so that we can prove that we can pay the loan back. And then Cedar Corp has put down a rough number of $2,500, but they would charge us as needed, so it could be less. Probably not gonna be any more than $2,500 on their service.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now to finance, Keith.
Alright, next I'll make a motion to approve the policy for the city to purchase one city logo shirt per elected official. So it's a one-time deal. After that, the official would have to purchase more themselves.
I'll second that.
Now it's made in second, I think that's pretty understandable. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve a prorated annual salary to be paid April 2017 for the third alderman position, according to the months served.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Everybody understand that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve the publication of the 2017 budget summary.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Questions on that one?
Well, again, this is just a summary, then we publish it, and then we also, by publishing it, we notice the public hearing on the budget, which is set for Monday, November 21st at 6:30, so that's when the final budget will be approved by City Council.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve checks 32597 through 32659 for the amount of $206,419.48.
I'll second that.
Motion made, seconded to pay the bills. Roll call.
Appleby,
Aye.
Gage,
Aye.
Gunderson,
Aye.
Lidkey,
Aye.
Nadowski,
Aye.
carried with 5 ayes.
Motion carried. Police and fire, Bruce.
No action for council.
Thank you. Public health, Cheney.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2016-3 revision to solid waste garbage collection.
I'll second.
Questions on that one?
Basically, that's the 24 before and after. You gotta get your cans off the side of the road.
24 before and after.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
It'd be roll call because it's an
roll
ordinance.
call,
Sorry about
okay.
that.
Roll call, go ahead.
Gage,
Aye.
Appleby,
Aye.
Nadowski,
Aye.
Lidkey,
Aye.
Gunderson.
Aye.
Carried with 5 ayes.
Carried, thank you. Rec Committee, Nick.
I have no action, but I will let you know that for the next probably 4 months, the rec committee will be working with Jessica Beckendorf of the UW Extension, reviewing and updating the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. So that'll be an ongoing project, and that's something we need to get for grants. It's also something we're supposed to be updating every 5 years.
When's the last time? Just curious.
A little longer than that.
A little longer? Okay. I'm just curious. I haven't heard of it, that's why I was asking. So.
Neither had I.
Learned something new.
Very good, Nick, thank you.
I just have a quick comment just on recreation in general. As the senior meal program is set to move as of November 1st to this building, and with that, we're reviewing obviously the move in the next couple of weeks, but also the programs that happen either because of the county program or in concert or are put on by the county. One of the items that came up that I just want to make a note about to get it on the record is there's a dartball league, and it's not sponsored by the county program. It's more of a recreational league that attends the different meal sites through the county, and then they'll play dartball. Are you familiar with what dartball is? It's throwing darts at, it's basically baseball with darts. Okay. They have their home games at the Weyauwega meal site, or they have in the past. And what we had mentioned to them is we gave them a heads up that as the county meal program is moving, it's not, dartball isn't a county meal program that's covered under the rental agreement. And so we mentioned to them, when you guys set your rates and your policies, that there would be a rental fee or at least some kind of a rental agreement that would be required. So now we mentioned to them also that there's a possibility to come to the rec committee to ask either for a fee waiver or approval. And so it had been passed to them that their program would certainly be welcome, but it's not part of the county's program, so that they would have to look at a rental agreement of some type. And haven't gotten too much of a response back, but we also haven't gotten an application for them to have the league, I guess, on the site here. So being that it's a new building, not that we want to kick anybody away or anything like that, we just said we want to make sure that it's a formal application. We might run into a little bit of a, don't want to call it an issue, but maybe a situation where they're planning on having a home dartball game the first week of November. But when I had advised them about having to go to the rec committee, I also advised them that the meeting probably wasn't going to be till after their next home game. So just a heads up, certainly welcome to apply. You know, we just want to distinguish that the county's paying for their program. They've got a rental agreement for their program, which is the most important, that we have the rental agreement. But everything else, we basically have to have an agreement with them, and we're open to consider them all. So, okay.
Thanks, Patrick. Public property, Richard. No action for a call.
Just real quick, there is a recommendation to go into closed session, and that's noticed on this agenda, so,
Yeah,
and that's another item, so.
all right. We'll go to planning commission. I make a motion to approve the sign permit for Blessings and Friends. That's the store where we moved out of. Anybody got any questions on that?
Before we do that, one thing I had a question on, it's vinyl. So is this an annual permit, or how does this work?
No, there isn't a distinction between like banner signs.
Okay, because I guess if it's vinyl or something that's non-permanent, I would say I would like it to be reviewed every year.
Okay, yeah, we did that, I mean, we had approved the centennial
Yeah, and that was
banner
for
for
a
the Opera
year.
House, and the approval was contingent on it being maintained appropriately,
Yeah.
so.
So can I say that in this case, I'd make a motion to approve the permit contingent upon it being reviewed after 1 year, or how would you say that? Because I'm fine with
We
the
have-
idea
yeah.
that it looks fine, I just want
Are
to make
they
sure that we
planning
have
on
a
putting up
mechanism
a
to.
regular permanent sign, or is that
Right now, they're applying to have this banner
just a
signed.
banner?
Yeah, and it's just vinyl, so I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to at least have a mechanism to review it after a year to make sure that we're not, you know, having
Right.
a vinyl sign that's tore up sitting out there.
We could, I think in our ordinance now, we probably have a maintenance of signs type thing. Otherwise, we have some other, I don't wanna call it public nuisance ordinances, but we have some ordinances that deal with unsightly
Okay.
objects. So I think we probably have some pretty good regulation
So
there.
you're saying we don't need to have it?
Approve it with the contingent that it be maintained.
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign permit, under the condition that it's maintained properly.
Okay, everybody got it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Who did the second?
Rich.
Thank you.
And we'll recommend a request to combine parcels on 313 West Birdsall. Anybody look at that map? This guy's got his lot and his garage built over the lot line of both of them. He wants to make it one lot so it makes sense on an abstract.
I'll make a motion to approve, the request to combine parcels.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions on it yet? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approved, thank you. Then we go to new business. We'll consider operator license for Lisa Kastner, Deanna Laudersdorf for the corner bar, Janine Marquardt for Weyauwega Co-op. You put them all together, they've been okayed?
I think I did one of them, Brandon did two, so
Yeah, they're all signed.
Yeah.
check, yeah.
They're all signed, so
All
I'll make
right.
a motion to approve all operating license requests on the, agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to approve the license, operator's license, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we want to consider cigarette and tobacco license for Wilson's Brick House. I guess that's not out of the ordinary.
No.
You
Make
get a motion?
to approve the application for cigarettes and tobaccos for, Wilson's Brick House.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, to approve the tobacco license for Brick House. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We got discussion on Ward 3, Alderman vacancy.
Just a couple of notes. I don't know that we've made an official declaration or anything like that, but Alderman Mike Kemp did submit his resignation as of September 23rd. I did supply the info to Angie. There was an article that was run. But we did want to just talk a little bit about filling the vacancy and what your options are. And basically there's two options. One would be you can appoint someone, and you would want to figure out a process in order to do that. But if you were going to appoint somebody, you would have to have them appointed before December 1st. Because as of December 1st, the nomination period opens up because that seat is open and up for election anyway, coming up in this December. So if you nominate somebody, you can nominate them or appoint them before December 1st. If you leave it open, it essentially stays open until the April elections. Now, in nominating, if I could give a little bit of advice, just structurally and procedurally moving forward, the next city council meeting would be the budget meeting on November 21st. The Finance Committee and the Public Works Committee decided to meet on the first Monday in November rather than the second. So they're looking at November 7th. Full council is the 21st. I think my request of you would be that if you're going to appoint somebody, that you appoint them before the 21st, because then that way, if you have multiple people that might be interested, number one, you can get them up to speed on whatever the budget would be so that they don't get appointed the same night that they have to vote on it. Then the other thing is if they get up ahead of time, we can get them educated. Potentially they could sit in on the November committee meetings depending on what your timing is there. So tonight until October 31st, you have 2 weeks if you wanted to advertise for applications. Otherwise, if you wanted to hold it, November 14th is an off night right now. If you wanted to have maybe a special council meeting, I would appreciate that if you could do that. And then,
What's the other side of the card if we don't appoint somebody?
Then we sit as is until April.
April election.
right. So the one concern I would have would be the three committees, and especially police and finance, would be the two of them that have two members then until April. So you need both of them to be able to make a meeting to hold a quorum, but then you also, if you only have two members on a committee and they can't agree, maybe they're on opposite ends of an issue. We had that at the ordinance committee, I think, when we were dealing with the pit bulls.
Yep.
Just by procedurally,
Yeah.
we kind of got stuck in a rut where we couldn't move forward at all because of that.
With the police one, can we assign somebody else as the chair then, or no? Just, I don't know, I'm just asking, because I know Mike was the chair of the police, and so that would make it somewhat difficult to say, hey, here's the agenda for the police committee.
Well, they're gonna have to be a chair of something anyway.
Yeah, everybody's gonna have to.
You're a chair of something.
No, I'm saying if we don't appoint somebody, then what happens?
You'd probably just have the senior member by default would just call me
Just
to order.
Yeah,
The only problem I have with that is that means we're short one already. That means if anybody else goes on vacation or gets sick, we run the chance of not being able to have council meetings.
Yeah, not being able to have it.
Because we're a small group, so we
And I'm not
really can't
against it,
afford
I'm just
anybody,
more
so. Right, I know,
I'm just more curious.
right, I
What
understand,
does it
because I
mean?
was thinking the same thing, but logistically, that puts a crunch on everybody else
Yeah.
here.
So do we have people that are interested that we know of?
I've had 3 or 4 people call and ask what the process is going to be, and we've told them that officially there hasn't been a decision yet, but that there would be one.
I'm thinking if
Hopefully
there's
tonight.
interest, we should put it out there.
We should put it out there. And
yeah, I think we gotta put an ad, public ad,
Yep.
and hold it for 2 weeks, and after that, see what applications we get, and then
Yeah,
we can discuss
I
it.
mean, the last thing you want is if somebody's interested not to be able to get
Yeah,
involved.
we gotta,
so-
you never know, 'cause there might be somebody out there really interested and just don't know about it, so.
Yep.
Make sure it's published as far as I'm
So, do
concerned.
you just wanna put out an ad that says
Is-
October 31st
Yeah.
is the deadline?
Yeah,
And then we'll try to figure out availability then on a special meeting?
that'd be good.
Yeah, probably need a special meeting just so at least they get a chance to get spun up. It's a lot to take in the first.
I've had a couple people ask me too, and I said, hey, we gotta make a decision, what we're gonna do tonight, I hope, and then get in there and
Motion on that, or?
get your name
So
in.
if you want to seek applicants for an appointment before December 1st, I would like a motion on that, if we could, just for
Okay.
the record, to set,
So I'd like,
that would be your decision.
I'll make a motion then to seek applicants for the open position to be filled prior to December 1st.
I'll second it.
Everybody got it? All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Opposed? Good, thank you. Now we got a video presentation. Didn't know we had a
It's
movie
gonna go a lot
coming.
better than last month, I promise.
Yeah.
Good,
we got
Bob, you wanna
sound and
grab this
everything?
for you, forget it?
Oh, yeah,
All right.
volume's a little touchy though, so we'll have to see.
The State of Wisconsin Municipality Mutual Insurance Plan wants to take the time to this program. Risk management professionals in Wisconsin and other states agree that when we educate our public officials,
It's
we
about 15 minutes long.
conditions that lead to litigation. The Colorado Intergovernmental Risk Sharing Agency has authorized us to share with you a program which was prepared to help recognize circumstances that can create liability in cities and villages. But these are universal to communities throughout the country. There may be a few differences in how the courts treat issues in Colorado and Wisconsin. We'll talk about those at the end of the program, but the lessons that we can all take from this program are common to all of us.
Colorado. Just curious.
Oh, hello, Dan. Congratulations on being elected as a council member.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm real excited about attending my first meeting and being sworn in. Although I'm a little nervous.
Nervous about why you were elected by a landslide.
Well, there are several things I'd like to accomplish. But I'll be the first to admit, I have a lot to learn. I don't want to end up like former Councilman Smith. I want to have a successful term, but I don't want to end up being sued.
Hey, Andrew, joining us tonight.
Hey, Bill.
Hi, I'm Margaret Taylor. I've been a council member here with the city of Cottonwood for 10 years, and mayor for the last 2. During my time with the city, we have made a lot of progress, but also a few mistakes. Certain members of the council have created messy liability situations that have cost the city a great deal of money, hurt our public image, and stalled important projects. And in some situations, elected officials have paid personal liability claims out of their own pockets. The purpose of this video and accompanying handbook is to help you avoid the mistakes that can lead to liability and identify best practices that will allow you to be successful as an elected or appointed official.
That's a lot of good information. Well, thanks, Bill. I'll see you tonight. Oh, Mayor, do you have a few minutes to discuss some of those past mistakes?
Sure, Dan, come on in. Have a seat.
Thank you.
You referred to Councilmember Patrick Smith. He promised during his campaign he would never allow Megamart to build a store in Cottonwood, and he was pretty vocal about it.
Stay away, Megamart! Stay away, Megamart! I've had similar opinions about giant retailers, although I haven't been as vocal with Mr. Smith. Where did he go wrong?
Well, I don't think he ever accepted the fact that as an individual council member, he really didn't have the authority to act on his own. That's why Smith was never able to get anything done. He was pretty vocal about the few issues he was interested in, but rarely worked to build consensus within the council. Dan, pretty much everything we do requires collaboration within the framework of our council. Elected officials can't get anything done as individuals.
I see your point.
So the first lesson is to think and act in terms of we, not I. Apart from a few duties vested in the mayor, the laws that govern our city don't give any powers to individual council members. We've got a diverse council with a lot of different perspectives, and we can only accomplish our goals by working together. Now that you've been elected, your role changes dramatically. You're no longer an outsider promoting your own agenda. You now have to work with your fellow council members to accomplish the city's goals as a collective body.
Let me ask you more about Councilmember Smith. The Megamart deal, it was approved by the council, although by a close vote. What problems did Smith cause?
Remember all of his anti-Megamart statements? When it came time for us to actually hear and act on Megamart's land use application, he should have recused himself.
So he shouldn't have voted.
That's right. He shouldn't have participated in the hearing or voted. Smith had made it well known that he was aligned with the Megamart opponents when we're acting in a quasi-judicial capacity, such as when deciding on a land use application or liquor license. They must be fair and impartial. We can't do that if we've already made up our minds before the hearing. Councilmember Smith had made it clear that he opposed the Megamart application. He was not acting as a fair and impartial decision maker. Fortunately, the Megamart application was approved by a small margin. Otherwise, the city could have been accused of a due process violation.
Due process?
Yes, the U.S. Constitution guarantees the right to a fair hearing as part of an applicant's due process rights.
During my campaign, I talked with a lot of my neighbors who are also anti-growth. I expressed to them my concerns about protecting our small businesses from giant retailers. Will that prevent me from voting on similar issues?
Well, the question is, if one of those big retailers comes before the council with a land use application, can you be fair? Can you make your decision based only on the evidence you hear and the requirements of our land use code? And can you set aside your previous discussions with your neighbors?
I can't ignore my neighbors. They elected me to represent them, not ignore them.
I'm not saying ignore your neighbors, but when an application is pending, you should not have discussions with anyone outside of the hearing. Our city attorney calls these discussions ex parte contacts. Your decision in a quasi-judicial matter must be based on the evidence presented. So when your neighbors want to speak with you about a pending application, explain to them it's inappropriate for you to talk about the issue outside the hearing. Suggest that they come to the hearing so their concerns can be heard.
Well, last year I called Councilman Miller and asked him to vote no on the pitbull ordinance. Did we engage in an improper ex parte contact?
No, that was a different situation. The council's consideration of the pitbull ordinance was a legislative matter. They were not dealing with the rights of a specific applicant under an existing law. The council was considering a new citywide law, so they were acting as legislators. Lobbying and other ex parte contacts are acceptable in the legislative context. But when you're in a quasi-judicial role, you've got to think and act more like a judge and refrain from engaging in or allowing ex parte contacts.
It makes sense when you put it that way. It's important not to base my vote on my biases or prejudice, and only consider the evidence presented at the hearing, like a judge.
Exactly. The other thing to keep in mind is to make sure you have no conflicts of interest when you're voting. If you were appearing before a judge and you learned he had financial or other conflicts of interest, you'd expect him to recuse himself, wouldn't you?
Well, sure.
Well, people who appear before us in a quasi-judicial matter expect the same. To be unbiased decision makers, we must be free from conflicts of interest. If we do have a conflict, we need to declare it, recuse ourselves, and not participate in the hearing or decision.
I think I understand. I think I recall reading in the paper about another incident involving Patrick Smith.
Oh, that was probably the lawsuit involving our library expansion. The council had selected a very qualified contractor to manage the project. Smith was always hanging around the construction site, thinking it was his job to micromanage the project. Needless to say, Smith ended up in a verbal confrontation with the contractor. Things got personal, and Smith started talking to other council members about terminating the guy's contract. He also spread some vicious personal rumors around town about the contractor.
That wasn't very smart. Did he get the contractor fired?
No, but the contractor sued Smith personally for defamation. Our insurance company declined to defend Smith because it was alleged he was acting outside the scope of his authorized duties and acting in a willful and wanton manner.
So that's why Smith had to pay for his own legal defense?
Yes, he was not acting within the scope of his authority as a council member when he started those vicious rumors.
I heard he had to take out a second mortgage to pay his lawyers and a large settlement.
Smith learned his lesson the hard way. Being outside the scope of one's authority or acting in a willful and wanton manner will result in a loss of liability protections and insurance coverages. That's good, thank you. Now, Patrick Smith isn't the only elected official who's gotten himself in some trouble. Our former mayor, Joe Appleby, put himself in the middle of a personnel issue.
I think I remember this case. Tammy Williams was the director of public works, right? Didn't she try to stop sexual harassment in the street division?
What do you think of going or something like that to her?
Sure, it's idiot.
Guys, I've told you about this before. You can't keep doing this. Bert, I need to see you around.
In trying to clean up the division, she fired the street supervisor, Bert Simpson. Mayor Appleby, who was drinking buddies with Simpson, was furious and made it his mission to get Tammy fired, and he succeeded.
You know, your job can't be replaced.
She brought a lawsuit claiming the mayor retaliated against her for trying to eliminate the harassment. The jury awarded her $150,000 in punitive damages that Appleby had to pay out of his own pocket.
Wow. What were the key lessons in this case?
First, don't act on the basis of personal motives. It was obvious Mayor Appleby wanted to fire Tammy Williams to get revenge for his friend Bert, and that was not in the scope of his authority. Second, we need to delegate personnel issues to the city administration. The council shouldn't be dealing with individual employees other than those who report directly to the council, like our city administrator. We should be focusing on the major legislative and quasi-judicial issues and leave administrative matters to staff. And third, never retaliate against someone for exercising their legal rights. Not only is retaliation against the law, but these claims are among the most difficult and costly to defend. We also had another fallout from the Appleby litigation. The press learned during the trial that Appleby was telling a lot of inappropriate jokes, and he was emailing them to the entire council. So the media demanded to see all of the council's emails over several years. Our study sure looked bad after the press got a hold of those.
Huh. I didn't realize emails were considered public record.
Sure. While there are narrow grounds for not releasing them under some circumstances, the basic rule is that emails may be public documents that anyone can review. If you don't want something splashed on the front page of the newspaper, we need to keep it out of our emails.
At least we're not the only city making these mistakes. Remember the scandal involving Councilman Arnold over in Clarksville after he got stopped for speeding?
Yes, he was caught on television yelling at the police officer for stopping him. I cringed when he shouted at the officer, "Don't you know who I am?" Talk about an abuse of power. And that brings me to perhaps the most important lesson. As elected and appointed officials, we must use our powers wisely and with civility. To misuse our position is absolutely improper and is not within the scope of our authority. We shouldn't try to put ourselves above the law or try to get some sort of special privilege because of our position.
Explain what you mean by acting with civility.
Well, as elected officials, we're perceived as holding the most powerful positions in the city. Because of that perception, our words carry a lot of weight. A harsh or ill-considered comment from any of us, especially if made public, can be extremely harmful to our employees' morale, as well as our public image. I once heard Appleby refer to our female employees as the staff hotties. It was embarrassing. Also, we should not participate in or encourage staff bashing in public meetings. We need to keep the focus on issues, not personalities. And then during Tammy's lawsuit, some of the jokes the mayor told during executive sessions were made public. We took another bashing in the press for those. Negative behavior like that can affect our entire organization. If we set a bad example at the top, we can't be surprised when it filters through the entire workforce. I'm so glad we moved on from those days.
This is eye-opening and a little frightening. Do you have any protections from liability?
Yes. Fortunately, we live in a state where our liability protections are strong. For one thing, we have an excellent governmental immunity act. Our public officials liability handbook has a good summary of our liability protections. But to retain these protections, we must stay within the scope of our authority and not act in a willful and wanton manner.
You've used those terms before. What would be considered willful and wanton?
Well, the actual legal definition is found in the handbook, but basically, it's the kind of conduct that got Appleby in trouble. When he got Tammy fired, he was more than reckless in disregarding her legal rights, purposely trying to damage her career.
Do we have any other protections?
Sure, we have excellent personal immunities, recognized by our courts when acting on legislative and quasi-judicial matters. But we do not have strong immunities when dealing with administrative problems. That's another reason why we need to stay out of administrative issues.
Got it. Let the city manager do his job.
And finally, we've got good insurance coverage. But that coverage only applies when we act within the scope of our authorized responsibilities and does not apply to punitive damages, as Mayor Appleby learned.
I see how these are all interrelated. Best practices, liability protections, and insurance coverages. And each area calls for us to meet certain standards of conduct. As long as we meet those standards of conduct, we should be okay.
I think you got it, Dan.
Thanks, Mayor. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge so I don't have to learn the hard way. Thanks for your insights.
You're very welcome. And one of the other best practices we put into place is liability training. We hold a session every year for our council members, boards, and commissions. We have a session scheduled next month.
Great. I'll be there. Great. Thanks again, Mayor.
Absolutely. Dan's a sharp guy. I think he'll make an excellent council member, as long as he follows these best practices. Think and act in terms of we, not I. When acting in a quasi-judicial capacity, be fair and impartial. Don't make up your mind before the hearing. Base your decision on the evidence you hear at the hearing and the applicable law. Don't participate in the hearing or the decision if you have a conflict of interest. And don't engage in ex parte contacts. Refrain from personal or retaliatory actions. Focus on key legislative and quasi-judicial issues and leave administrative matters to the staff. And maximize your liability protections by staying within the scope of your authority and avoiding willful and wanton conduct. I hope this video has helped you identify how to stay within the scope of your authority as an elected or appointed official, maximize your liability protections, and enhance your effectiveness as a civic leader. Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck. Especially if you're an Applebee.
No family resemblance though.
Yeah, no.
Oh, there they are. Still got a crowd. Moving right along, I got the mayor's report. I got a couple things here I'd like to talk on. Number one is our 2 construction projects. I'm pretty happy with Myron and Cedar Corp working, like Thad said, the punch list is 99.9% done and no problems, and the wastewater is running good. That's what we wanted. And the other one, of course, is this one, Immel. I'm really disappointed in what Immel's been doing there. They're, you know, it's supposed to be done in April, May, and June, and now it's October, and we still got all kinds of stuff here that's not correct. And I think that's a real bad mark on Immel Construction. And like the other morning I walked in here, it was 80 degrees out in the hallway, and the thermostat was set at 70. And when Patrick calls them, they say, "Oh well, we'll check on it, or it's not our problem." And we got the seniors coming in, and still got some things to do, make it ready for them. Anyway, I'm real happy you went along with the electrical outlets out Main Street there, because that's a real eyesore. People walking around always see them things tipped over, kicked and broken, and everybody asks, well, why don't they fix them? Why don't they do something with that? So I'm glad to see that. I'm also glad, I think I'd like to thank the police department and Patrick for doing a little research and checking the city out and coming up with the cleanup orders that went out to people that, you know, were violating all kinds of ordinances in the city. And I see some of them are getting cleaned up, some of them we're going to have to work on. I understand there's a raising permit went out to somebody for the Peterson property, so that's getting worked on somewhat. And other than that, I guess that's all I got. Things are looking good, and things are looking up. With the tree situation, I hope this winter we get public property, I get talking to somebody that's professional on trees and decide what to do with the ones that look bad or aren't there or are dead, and replace them or find some type of landscaping that
For the downtown ones, right?
improves the downtown somewhat. So that's all I got. Thank you. Administrator.
Thank you. Just real quick, obviously the budget has been a big deal we've been working on for a few months. Going into November, there's some tweaks yet. Some of the aid figures are just getting finalized. One of the big decisions you're going to have is in setting the tax levy, because with all the construction in town, you have roughly 5.3% growth net new construction for this past year. And the reason why that's important is because the state allows you to set your levy, increase your tax levy by up to that amount by net new construction. So that's an option that's out there. That's a decision that will have to be made in November. On the trees, we have done some internal discussions about, I guess, rehabbing the tree board, and what we want to do with that is take a look at the downtown trees, but we're also running into some issues in town where there's some trees that are starting to die out. Mill, and I believe it's West Parker, that block. Mr. Savoy's been in touch with me on what it looks like is some trees that were put in with a road project, and they're starting to, I guess, slowly die out. Had a couple people take a look at them. They said it could be a variety of things, but it looks like they are in the pattern that they've had. In the middle of summer when they're brown or they're getting bare, it's just showing, you know, there's probably a couple of years left on those. So I'll have to take a look at that too. Two other things I have. One is at the Plan Commission, we talked about a couple of zoning issues that we've run into. And the zoning issues are related to the zoning code. Either in 2005 or 2010 when it was updated, ran into a couple issues where the drive-in is zoned, basically spot zoned B1 general business, but that zoning doesn't allow for drive-in restaurants though. So they've been operating, there's not an issue with that. The reason why it came up is because they've got it listed for sale this winter. And so it is appropriately zoned or placed in the B2 district, but the B2 district requires a conditional use to be approved so that you can regulate the site. So we're gonna be working through with the Plan Commission, probably a rezoning, and then also how are you going to handle that conditional use aspect of it? Whether it's grandfathering for the current owner, if it sells, obviously it's an opportunity to restart. So there's that. There's also a neighborhood in the West Alfred area that we looked at Plan Commission. It's smaller lots, single family homes, but it was zoned R3, which is for the very large apartment buildings. So there's one lot that is roughly 70 feet. And the setbacks for R3 are very, very large. Setbacks are like 35 feet for a front yard, 50 feet for a back. So you technically, by the zoning code, can't build anything on a lot of these lots. So I'm assuming that it's just something that either was missed or it's just an error that was made. One of the other items that the commission had asked to look into is downtown, where we have B1 business zoning, doesn't allow for homes. And so a lot of the businesses have homes above them. There's a lot of homes that are in the downtown area that are zoned business, so we're gonna take a look at that too. Just a real quick note, you may see an article in the paper related to New London. I don't know if it came out or if it's coming out, but we had received a similar request from a company called Wisconsin Technology Networking. What they're looking to do is to build essentially cell towers, but they build smaller towers where it'll be about 120 feet and it has to be in the right of way because of the way that they're designated by state law. They're like an alternative transmission utility. And essentially, and I'm really glossing over this, but it's the beginning of infrastructure for 5G with cellular technology. So it's a lot more towers, but it's a lot smaller. Back in the Green Bay and some of the metro areas, what they're doing is they're buying like street lights and attaching them on top of street lights. But in town here, they are looking at installing a 120-foot tall tower right on the edge of the city limits going off Alfred Street. So where the Wolf River Sausage property is, they're looking at putting a tower basically right on the city line, right on the city limits. So they're dealing, because it's the county road right away, they're working through with the county highway department too. Just to give you a heads up on that, that's something that they're looking at proposing. I believe they're looking at one in downtown in New London too. There's some, I looked through in Green Bay to Pier, where they're looking at 30, 40 of them at a time they're trying to put in. So that's something that we're looking into, but because it's designated pretty strictly in state law, there are some things we can do to work with the company, but they're restricted to be in the right of way. So one of the questions we had was, well, can they move away off of the road? And the answer is probably not, because they've got to stay in that right of way there. That's a heads up on that. And then the other thing that I have is maybe just to tail on what the mayor mentioned. Down at the treatment plant, we're almost punched out. We do have an issue with some pumps that we're looking at. There's a little bit of an oil leak in one of the pumps. We're wondering if that's going to be okay, or we can get an extended warranty, or should the pumps, and I think it's one pump, should it just be replaced? So that's one issue we're working on yet. But I do agree in general, working with Myron and Cedar's been very good on that. And with the MO, we do have some issues that are popping up. Some of the issues that are popping up are warranty items, where they're replacing warranty work. The railing up front had been taken off a couple times. It actually just got reinstalled today again. So they are working on items, and with the HVAC, we have had some issues going back and forth, but the HVAC vendor is able to log into our system, try to work on it remotely. And so we're getting through there. I guess I would say it's not a good feeling that we're still having these issues yet, but it feels like they're working on them. It's just maybe not getting resolved as quickly as you'd rather have it, but they've been responsive, if nothing else. I don't mean that. They've been responsive in addition to also working on it. I didn't even scratch that from the record, but Other than that, that's a pretty large report, but those are the notes I've got, so, thank you.
Okay, number 10, we got the police chief, Jerry.
We got 181 complaints in September. Nothing that jumps out and is very interesting. 1,428 for the year. Homecoming came and went, and I can tell you in 22 years, this was the quietest homecoming that I remember. There was very little toilet paper, no eggs, no paint, no vandalism. I liked it. So hats off to the kids at the school. They did a nice job. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Set the meeting calendar for November. Becky, I got the floor.
So we can have a double?
Finance and Public Works has already been set for November 7th. Finance, I presume at 6:30.
I don't know if did we set a time for that?
I guess if we're gonna do an ordinance, we may do something like we did last time, where we try and knock it out earlier in the day.
The only thing we've got out there is.
Clear your calendar.
We're meeting the 7th so that the auditors can make it, so I would just verify what.
Yeah, we
they
were
get.
still waiting on what time they could do day or.
Yeah.
evening.
Yep, we'll
Yeah,
verify that,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, then Public Works is that night also.
Yeah, Public Works will still be at night, because then Bruce still needs that to be later.
Rec and Police are set for Tuesday, November 15th.
Yep.
So a week later due to the 8th being the election night.
We didn't think you wanted it on election night.
Well, it's just downstairs.
You can come visit.
15th, yes.
Rec starting at
6:30.
6:30 and then police to follow.
Yep.
Okay, and then as Patrick mentioned, a special council right now I think is the 14th.
That's the open Monday night, does that sound okay? Tentatively, we'll keep that, and we'll figure it out.
Tentatively for
And that'll be
6.
just appointment, whatever's needed.
Yeah.
What was that one again now?
Monday the 14th,
14?
and that's tentative.
Are we doing an ordinance on the 7th?
I'm assuming if we do, we'll probably do it the 7th, so we can kind of play that by ear. And I think we have a couple items that we were still
Right,
looking to
yeah.
finish up,
Mhm.
so.
3 o'clock. Does that still work for you, Rich?
Looks like he's about to. I think he's tired.
Got them all?
And then city council is November 21st.
You can do a planning commission with that zoning? Or you wanna wait?
Yeah, we should set one. The other thing that came in too is, Weyauwega Estates, after this land transaction goes through, they want to incorporate the lot number 18, which is like their front yard. It's the one lot they held on to.
Is that little?
Yeah,
Okay.
they want to combine that, so they turned in paperwork today to a request to combine
Oh.
18 and 17, those two parcels, so we'll have something for sure.
Oh, is that announceable yet, or has that been announced?
Yeah, last month you guys did vote in open session, and then there was an article that ran in the paper then too that had
Oh, I missed that
essentially
one.
the details, so, yeah. Yep.
I missed it. I was looking for that.
So you're gonna wait on that and get in
Yeah, I
contact
think it
with
was
everybody?
because we've got 2 here and then
Right.
4 of the others, yeah, we'll double check on
Wait.
that.
Well, which Wednesday works better for you?
The 9th and 16th.
I can do either one of those, so
Either
whatever
one,
works.
16th, okay. Jack, either one?
That's good to be, yep.
Okay, I will check with the other citizens and see.
Okay. Anything else? Such matters is authorized by law. Bob?
Can I make one comment? Thanks first of all for listening to me tonight. I'd be more than happy to give you an overview of what our project is a couple of times a year. I gave a lot of negatives tonight. I didn't give the positives of what's happening on the lake, and it'd be an opportunity to do that so that you get a better picture of what's going on.
I think one thing for me personally that'd be helpful for future instances is just what exactly the other communities are doing upriver since we're gonna get the brunt end of a lot of whatever they do. So I guess, you know, some details on that to help us understand exactly what's coming down our way or what we know is coming down our way,
Amen.
so we can make good decisions based on that.
I've got a lot of information on that also, which you'd be very interested in, because that will impact what happens.
Yep,
out there.
definitely.
Thank you.
And then, if I can, Jack, too, also for other such matters, there's, one item that we talked about at the finance committee that we wanted to bring to the council and just get, I guess your guys' idea or feedback on it. We plan on discussing it some more. And basically, it's, council, salary, meeting, amounts, and then also citizen amounts. It was brought up that Weyauwega's lower than other area communities, and our feeling from the committee, or at least my feeling from the committee, was that I'm okay with that. The one thing that we were looking at changing from one year to the next would be raising the rate for the citizen committee members, because I know that's a constant struggle that we do have here. So we were discussing whether or not we raise the citizen committee members to $50 a meeting, over $25 a meeting. Other than that, we didn't plan on making any changes, or didn't have any strong feelings one way or the other, I guess, on that. But we wanted to at least give you guys a shot to discuss any feelings or thoughts that you guys had before we made a decision and brought it to council next month. With that, that's all I got. But if you guys have any feedback, I appreciate it.
Any other comment on that?
Someone up there? No?
Guess not.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
I do have one other thing to add. As everybody knows, the nutrition site will be coming November 1st. We're very exciting. I'm going to be working with Crossroads, so we're going to be having a lot of activities starting to come our way. Bingo is going to be start getting played a little bit more than once a month, so you're going to see a lot of action through this building if you are coming in during the mealtime hours. And to encourage anybody the age over 60 to come and eat. The meal costs $7.35. It's a minimal donation if you can of $4. Under age 60, you're still welcome to eat. You just need to pay the full price of $7.35. So pass the word, because we're excited to have more people come and visit us. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Frank?
If I may ask a question, it's pertaining to the trees. I've heard some conflicting stories that it's possibly a disease, or it's age-related, or it's street-related. Is there any double checking? Because if it is a disease, I hope we're gonna be ahead of it, because we have lost one tree up there, there's two more that are in question, and I guess we're all running a little bit concerned.
I guess what our plan was to get a professional landscaper or somebody in to come and look at all the trees.
Well, we've had two in already.
Yeah,
in this
okay.
neighborhood, and the answer on that's really been that it could be a variety of issues, but the sign that some of them are dying from the top up means that ultimately it's not just a trimming issue or something like that, it's going to be gone in a couple of years. So there's two contacts that we have that usually come out and take a look at that for no charge. Neither one of them has really said, they basically just said, well, it could be a lot of things, but it seems to be a lot of the same types of trees though in that neighborhood. So that could be
Thank you.
one issue then too, but yeah, but we are looking, and even for another, if we could find somebody else yet too, that might be able to weigh in a little bit better on it too.
Will you possibly be doing a follow-up like in the spring to see whether they're growing and or
For
losing?
sure, for sure. Yeah.
Appreciate it, thank you. very
That's kind of what our plan is.
Check with Rick Blondie from Weyauwega County, he's pretty good.
Mhm.
He at least could refer you to the right people. Yeah, it might be sodium chloride maybe? How close is that to the streets? Too much.
They're on the edge of the right of way. I mean, it's close, but it's,
Too much salt too.
Could be.
Also use nutrition within 5 feet.
All right,
thank you.
very much.
Okay, now,
Nothing, Angie?
Pretty quiet over there.
Well, she put no on her slip, she wasn't gonna talk.
now we're going to go into closed session. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session per Wisconsin statutes, deliberating and negotiations with purchasing of public property whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The reason for this session is to review parameters of potential purchase of property on Old Mill Street. The council may choose to reconvene in open session at the completion of the closed session in order to take action from the closed session.
I'll make a motion to go to closed session.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, roll call.
Should we do, right off the bat, the other one too?
Yeah.
We can do them both, okay.
I'll also make a motion pursuant to 19.851 Charlie.
Thanks,
which is
Bob.
Consideration of employment, promotion, compensation, and performance data of city employees, including review of 2017 budget raise recommendations for the administrator in chief.
Okay,
I'll second that too.
okay,
I
roll
feel like
call.
we're gonna do it again, so.
Appleby?
Aye.
Gage? Gunderson?
Aye.
Lippke? Nadowski?
Aye.
5 ayes.
We got time?
Se- 7:53.